Have you ever had that nagging feeling, that quiet little voice asking, is there something wrong with me? Maybe when it comes to, sexual desire or even just how you feel about your own body.
Oh, absolutely. Or maybe you've just felt completely lost trying to figure out what's normal or right when there are so many mixed messages swirling around about sex.
It's incredibly common, that feeling of confusion, maybe even a bit of self-doubt. And that's exactly the territory we're really diving into today.
It really is striking, isn't it, how widespread that uncertainty is, especially around female sexuality. So much of it just comes down to a lack of good, empowering information, really. It often gets drowned out by myths and, frankly, unrealistic ideas.
But it doesn't have to be that way.
No, definitely not.
So today, we're taking a deep dive into a book that I found genuinely transformative. Dr. Emily Nagoski's Come As You Are, Unlocking the Secrets to Sexual Well-Being and Confidence.
And this isn't just, another self-help book. It's packed with cutting-edge research, fascinating brain science, and really human, relatable stories. It untangles the complexity of female sexuality in a way that's, incredibly accessible, but also revolutionary.
Yeah, our mission here, for you listening, is pretty straightforward, but honestly, quite powerful. We want to help you debunk some of those persistent myths that might have shaped how you think about sex.
And to help you really embrace how incredibly individual your sexual experience is. It's not about fitting into some predefined box. It's about empowering you to cultivate a sex life that feels more fulfilling, more joyful, more you.
Rooted in self-acceptance, right? And emotional awareness.
Exactly. It's not about fixing you.
Because you're not broken. And that's maybe the biggest aha moment right from the start in this book. Dr. Nagoski makes it crystal clear. There is no magic pink pill for desire.
Right. For decades, people have kind of looked for that simple fix. But her research shows it's just so much more nuanced, much more personal than that.
Your sexual identity, how you experience pleasure, attraction, intimacy, it's as unique as your fingerprint. So this isn't about fixing, it's about understanding.
Understanding you. And that journey, that self-discovery, it really starts with understanding our own bodies, our physical landscape, and moving past all those myths that have caused so much confusion and shame.
Okay, let's unpack that. Part one, really. Understanding the physical landscape. And the first place Dr. Nagoski takes us is, maybe surprisingly for some, the clitoris.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing how this absolute powerhouse of pleasure has been so shrouded in mystery or just ignored for so long.
Despite being absolutely central to female sexual response.
Right. Structurally, it's actually quite similar to the penis, coming from the same embryonic tissue. And its main job, pleasure, that's what it's designed for.
And Nagoski emphasizes it's not just about knowing where the clitoris is, anatomically speaking. She has this fantastic quote.
Oh, I know the one. Knowing where the clitoris is important, but knowing where your clitoris is power.
Yes. That distinction is huge. It's not about a textbook diagram. It's about your lived experience, your body's map.
She shares stories from students, and it's eye-opening how many women, even adults, haven't really been taught about their own anatomy in a meaningful way. It leads to so much confusion.
Like learning car mechanics before you even know how to drive your specific car. There's just a huge need for more open, honest talk about this.
And that open conversation absolutely has to include embracing genital diversity. Just like faces or fingerprints, vulvas vary incredibly, inner labia, outer labia size, shape, color. There's a huge range.
But what we often see, especially in media or porn, is such a narrow, often surgically altered, and just unrealistic picture.
Exactly, and the book really stresses all these variations are completely normal, period. It directly pushes back against those images that make women feel their natural bodies are somehow wrong or imperfect.
It's wild how much misinformation is still floating around. And speaking of myths, we absolutely have to talk about the hymen.
Oh, the hymen myth, yes. The misunderstandings around it are just astounding, and they've caused so much harm.
Because it's treated as this definitive marker of virginity, right?
When biologically, it has no significant role. It's not some kind of seal that breaks. It varies hugely. Some people are born with very little hymenal tissue. Some have multiple openings. Its presence or absence tells you absolutely nothing about sexual history.
But the cultural weight put on it is enormous, leading to shame, judgment, even violence. It's a tragic example of biology being completely misinterpreted.
And while we're clearing things up, accurate language is key, as Nagoski points out. The difference between vulva and vagina.
Right, people use them interchangeably all the time, but they're distinct. Vulva is the external parts you can see.
And the vagina is the internal canal. Using the right words isn't just about being technically correct. It helps you understand and accept your own body. If you don't have the words, how can you really know or talk about it?
It's foundational. And that clarity extends to things like arousal fluids, too.
Mm-hmm. The book highlights that both men and women produce fluids during arousal. It helps tackle misconceptions like around female ejaculation and really shows the similarities in how our bodies respond, rather than focusing only on differences.
She even briefly touches on intersex variations.
Which further emphasizes that huge natural spectrum of bodies. Variations are normal, part of human diversity, not something to pathologize.
So all this anatomical understanding, it's not just academic. It's deeply practical.
It's about liberation, really. Recognizing the normality and beauty and diversity helps fight those damaging body image narratives. It's about shifting from shame to acceptance.
Like Olivia's journey in the book, she went from feeling her body was wrong based on media ideals
to accepting it for what it is, not what it means culturally. It's such a powerful shift.
And it's an invitation for all of us, isn't it? To explore, to challenge negative self-perceptions, to reframe our relationship with our bodies.
Absolutely, because that self-knowledge and acceptance, it's the essential groundwork for understanding how our sexual response actually works, which mostly happens, well, upstairs, in the brain.
Right. Which brings us to part 2, and honestly, one of the most game-changing concepts in the book, the dual control model.
It's brilliant. So simple conceptually, but the implications are huge for understanding desire and arousal. It was developed by John Bancroft and Eric Jansen.
And the core idea is that sexual response isn't just an on-off switch. It's a balance, right, between two systems in the brain.
Exactly. You've got the sexual accelerator, that's the sexual excitation system, or SES. It responds to sexually relevant cues, things that turn you on.
The gas pedal.
The gas pedal. And then you've got the sexual brake, the sexual inhibition system, or SIS. It responds to all the reasons not to have sex right now. Stress, danger, distraction, feeling unsafe.
The brake pedal. Both are crucial. You need both to navigate intimacy effectively.
And this model is so powerful because it integrates things that earlier models maybe didn't emphasize enough. Masters and Johnson focused a lot on the arousal-orgasm cycle.
And Hellensinger-Kaplan added desire, but it was still kind of linear.
Right. The dual control model really highlights the interplay, especially the role of those breaks. It explains why just trying to boost arousal, like with those pink Viagra attempts, often didn't work for many women. You have to consider the breaks too.
The book uses Lori's story, which really resonated. She was struggling with low desire, feeling really distressed about it.
And as a busy parent, the constant stress, the exhaustion, the lack of private time, those were all hitting her brakes. Hard.
Even if she was trying to find ways to hit the accelerator, understanding this model reframed everything for her. It wasn't that she was broken.
It was just how her specific accelerator brake system was responding to her current life context. Her journey involved exploring things solo, too, just to understand her own sensitivities better.
So getting aroused isn't just about hitting the gas. It's about hitting the gas and easing off the brake. It's a two-part process.
And here's the really fascinating, liberating part. Everyone's accelerator and brakes have different sensitivities. We're all wired slightly differently.
Which explains so much variation, why one person gets turned on easily and another needs a very specific, calm setting.
Exactly. And while there are some general tendencies, like on average, men might have more sensitive accelerators, women more sensitive brakes.
On average, that's the key phrase.
Absolutely. Because the variation within each gender is huge. There is no single normal. Your combination is unique.
Which is why Nagoski talks about something like a sexual temperament questionnaire, not as a diagnosis, but as a tool for self-discovery.
Right. To help you understand your own accelerator and brake sensitivity, it shifts the question from what's wrong with me to, okay, how does my system work?
And once you have that insight, you can start thinking about your context.
Ah, context. Yes, it's everything. The book makes it so clear how much our environment, our circumstances impact sexual experience. Stress, mood, trust, body image, even just the day's hassles.
They're not just background noise, they're active players. There's that killer quote.
It doesn't matter how hard you hit the accelerator if the brake is on the floor. Boom.
How often have we felt that? Trying to force intimacy when the conditions just aren't right, internally or externally.
So often. Camilla's story in the book is another great example. Her desire dropped after 5 years of marriage. Not because of her partner, but because her context shifted more stress, more responsibilities. Her brakes were constantly engaged.
So while you can't fundamentally rewire your base excessive sensitivity,
You can influence it by changing your context, adjusting expectations, honoring your needs, creating environments that actually support your desire.
so if you realize, say, that chaos or anxiety are major breaks for you,
You can be proactive. Maybe it means putting on calming music, ensuring uninterrupted time, dealing with that nagging to-do list before trying to connect, setting boundaries around work.
it's about consciously designing moments or even aspects of your life to work with your system, not against it, not blaming yourself.
Exactly, taking those proactive steps, which flows perfectly into rethinking desire itself, because, as Nagoski argues, it's not really a drive.
Okay, this was another huge one for me. The idea that sexual desire is not like hunger or thirst, that just shattered a lifelong assumption.
It's a really fundamental shift, isn't it?
Yeah.
We automatically think of sex as this primal urge that builds up and needs release, like hunger.
Yeah, like a pressure cooker.
But the research suggests it's much more accurate to call it an incentive motivation system.
Meaning, instead of being pushed from within by biological need,
You're pulled towards sex by external things, stimuli, curiosity, the appeal of connection, novelty. It's about attraction and engagement, not just relieving pressure.
the analogy she uses is so powerful. If sex were a drive like hunger, what about the, 30% of women who rarely feel spontaneous desire? Are they like someone who never feels hungry even if they haven't eaten in months?
Right. It instantly reframes responsive desire as completely normal, not a disorder.
Okay, let's unpack that. Spontaneous versus responsive desire. Many people think desire just hits you out of the blue.
That's the spontaneous kind. And if you don't feel that, you might worry.
For loads of women, maybe even most, it's responsive desire, where arousal and then the feeling of desire happens after you're already in a positive context or engaging intimately.
You might not feel horny until you start kissing or touching or just feeling safe and connected. And that is perfectly healthy, super common, and totally normal.
Which connects directly to another mind-blowing concept, non-concordance.
Ah, yes, the disconnect. Where your body's physical response doesn't necessarily match your subjective feeling of being turned on.
It means your body might show signs of arousal lubrication, blood flow, but your brain, your conscious mind, isn't feeling desire. Like your body says, maybe, but your mind says, not right now.
And the research is stark. About half of men show strong alignment between genital response and feeling turned on. For women, it's only about 10%.
10%, that's a massive difference and explains so much. It means a woman's body can lubricate without her feeling subjectively aroused or ready for sex.
Which leads straight to what Nagoski calls lubrication error, #1.
The huge misunderstanding that lubrication equals being turned on equals consent.
Yeah.
Which is just wrong and dangerous.
It makes women feel broken if their body responds, but their mind isn't there. And it can lead partners to misinterpret signals completely.
Her restaurant analogy is perfect here. Your body's response is like recognizing this is a restaurant. It's sexually relevant stimuli.
But it doesn't mean you want to eat there. You might recognize the category, but not feel any subjective appeal or desire in that moment.
And it's not just about sex, right? This non-concordance shows up elsewhere too.
Yeah, like your body might startle at a loud noise, but you don't instantly feel afraid. It shows it's a basic neurological thing, not a sexual dysfunction.
And the most empowering part, realizing non-concordance is normal. It's not a problem to be fixed.
Exactly. It's just part of human complexity. Understanding this reduces blame and opens the door for much better communication.
So if desire isn't a drive and body-minds aren't always in sync, what actually works to enhance desire? Communication has to be top of the list.
Absolutely paramount. Shifting the focus from guessing based on physical signs to listening to actual words. That quote again, tell them to pay attention to your words, not your fluids, and also buy some lube.
I love how direct that is. It takes the pressure off, allows for honesty, and points out lube is just a helpful tool. Totally normal.
Second strategy, increasing arousal generally. Not just direct stimulation, but things that get your heart rate up, create excitement.
Like dancing, a fun workout, even just playful banter, building that sense of aliveness.
Third, and maybe the most crucial, turning off the offs. Addressing those inhibitors, those brakes.
Stress, negative body image, performance anxiety, relationship conflict, exhaustion.
Yeah.
You have to lift the brake before the accelerator can work.
Exactly. And then there's actively building desire in the relationship. Nagoski calls it advancing the plot.
Keeping things dynamic.
Right.
creating new positive experiences, talking openly about desires, maybe having routines for affection, not letting things get stale.
Because the brain's little monitor tracks progress. If it feels like effort isn't leading to satisfaction or novelty, desire can dip. Advancing the plot keeps that monitor interested.
And finally, curiosity. Approaching sex with a sense of adventure, not obligation.
Curiosity is such a powerful engine for engagement. It makes it a journey of discovery, not a chore.
The example of Olivia and Patrick trying new dynamics, with him leading sometimes, really showed how exploring different styles can work when desire levels differ.
And it reinforces that key message. Differing desire is common. It doesn't mean anyone's broken. As Nagoski says, you're not broken, you are whole, and there is hope.
That feels so validating.
And all these strategies, understanding our internal landscape, they lead right into how our broader context, our internal garden, you could say, shapes everything.
The garden metaphor. I love that. Comparing personal growth and cultural influences on sexuality to tending a garden. It's such a perfect image.
It really is. The core idea is that sexuality needs care, attention, the right conditions to flourish, love, connection, safety. That's the rain it needs.
But stress, she says, is like the sun. Necessary moderation, but too much intensity scorches everything, right? Dries it all out.
Exactly. And then there are the cultural weeds, body shaming, unrealistic beauty standards, sexual stigma. They infiltrate our self-perception, our beliefs about pleasure.
And they can choke the life out of our natural sexual well-being, making us feel inadequate or ashamed.
Which brings us right to emotional context and stress management. Our feelings profoundly impact pleasure. Nagoski calls it sex in a monkey brain. Our ancient survival responses are always interacting with intimacy.
When that monkey brain feels threatened or overwhelmed by stress, survival trumps connection every time.
We all know stress kills desire for most people and dampens pleasure for everyone. But the key isn't just to relax. It's, as she puts it, allowing the stress response cycle to complete.
That's such a crucial distinction. Feeling less stressed isn't enough. The body needs to actually discharge that built-up stress energy.
Think about it. Primitive stress, like running from a predator, had a physical release. Running, fighting, shaking. Modern stress deadlines, worries often doesn't.
So the stress gets stuck in our bodies, acting like a brake.
Exactly. So consciously completing the cycle is vital. Physical activity, run, dance, shake. Affectionate touch, a long hug. Creative expression, mindfulness. Even just letting yourself cry or laugh fully.
These things signal to your body. The threat is over, you're safe, you can downshift from survival mode.
It makes so much sense. We hold so much tension. And importantly, we need to touch on trauma's impact.
Yes, absolutely. Nagoski handles this so carefully. Past trauma, especially sexual trauma, can have deep, long-lasting effects on sexual health.
For survivors, even safe, loving sexual stimuli can trigger that threat response, hitting the brakes hard. Avoidance, discomfort, flashbacks, dissociation.
Healing is essential, and it's often a body-based journey too, not just psychological. Yeah. Therapy like EMDR, somatic work, mindfulness focusing on safety in the body.
It's about gradually rebuilding trust in your body's capacity for pleasure and safety.
Okay, let's zoom back out to those cultural weeds.
Right.
The three big messages Nagoski identifies that shape our ideas about sex and fuel self-doubt. Recognizing them is step one to uprooting them.
They run deep. First, the moral message. This is the old narrative that women seeking or enjoying sex are somehow bad, impure, damaged. It attaches shame directly to female desire.
Still so pervasive, sadly. Slut-shaming, purity culture, it creates immense guilt.
Then, the medical message. This is where female responses are often judged against a male standard. If you don't respond like a man or fit a neat linear model, something is deemed wrong. It ignores all the variability we've talked about.
Historically, it was hysteria. Even now, research often defaults to male models.
And finally, the relentless media message. This is the constant bombardment telling women they're inadequate. Unrealistic beauty standards, airbrushed bodies, hypersexualized or distorted portrayals of sex.
It sets impossible standards, fuels comparison, makes you feel you're always falling short.
Understanding these three messages, seeing them clearly, is crucial for fighting back against the self-doubt they create and reclaiming your own sexual narrative.
It's like identifying the weeds so you can pull them out. And this connects directly to body image and self-love.
You know, babies' bodies are adored. But somewhere along the way, especially for girls around puberty, that shifts dramatically. We learn self-criticism, focus on flaws.
And the science is clear. Lower body satisfaction directly correlates with less sexual pleasure. If you're busy criticizing your body during sex, your brakes are definitely on.
So cultivating self-compassion is the antidote. Actively noticing self-judgment and consciously replacing it with kindness, like you would for a friend. Mindfulness helps. Seeing thoughts without getting swept away, remembering you're not alone in these struggles, that common humanity piece.
And it's not about achieving some ideal size or shape. Nagoski highlights the health at every size, or ACE's approach.
Yes. Promoting body acceptance, joyful movement, nourishing eating based on internal cues, not external rules or weight goals, it powerfully affirms you can be healthy and beautiful at any size.
It shifts focus from external judgment to internal well-being.
And challenges the idea that only certain bodies are healthy or attractive. Plus, the insight that disgust is learned is so freeing, if it's learned.
It can be unlearned by challenging negative attitudes, seeking out diverse images, reframing how you see bodies, yours and others.
And practically, media nutrition. Be mindful of what you consume. Reduce exposure to media that makes you feel bad about yourself. Seek out content that affirms and empowers. Curate your information diet.
All these pieces, challenging cultural messages, managing stress, cultivating self-love, they create that fertile ground, that healthy garden where desire and pleasure can actually flourish.
Exactly. Which brings us nicely to the final part. Orgasm, but reframed in a really helpful way.
Yes, not as the be-all end-all goal, but as the fantastic bonus. I love that framing.
It takes so much pressure off. Orgasm, she defines it, is that sudden involuntary release of sexual tension. It's not tied to specific behaviors, and the feeling varies hugely between women.
Oh.
That alone is liberating. Your orgasm doesn't have to match some media portrayal.
And the evolutionary angle is fascinating too, that female orgasm isn't strictly necessary for reproduction, unlike male orgasm ejaculation.
Right. It's likely a byproduct of how our genitals develop similarly in the embryo. This doesn't make it less important for pleasure, but it detaches it from being a biological must-happen for conception, or even for every sexual encounter.
Which helps normalize the huge range of experiences, including sometimes not having an orgasm. It removes that pressure, that anxiety.
Which leads right into tackling orgasm challenges. A huge one is spectatoring.
That feeling of watching yourself during sex, worrying about how you look if you're performing correctly.
Exactly. Being in your head, judging, instead of being in your body, feeling. Merritt's story in the book is a perfect example. Her constant worry about performance basically shut down her arousal and ability to orgasm.
And then comes that profound, almost Zen-like insight about orgasm.
When someone asks, how do I make orgasm happen?
The answer is, you don't make it happen, you allow it.
That shift from making goal-oriented, pressure-filled to allowing, letting go, being present, trusting your body is everything.
It's about focusing on pleasure itself, not just the peak. Orgasm isn't the goal. Pleasure is the goal.
Yes. When you focus on the whole range of sensations, the connection, the intimacy, the joy, it relieves that performance anxiety. And ironically, often makes orgasm more likely, but even if it doesn't happen, the experience is still rich and satisfying.
And finally, this idea of meta-emotions, our feelings about our feelings, how much they impact things.
Hugely. It's that second layer. Feeling anxious, then feeling ashamed about feeling anxious. The shame is the meta-emotion, and it digs the hole deeper.
The examples in the book are so illustrative. Gertie C., who had sexual hallucinations.
A potentially scary thing. But she reframed it, felt curious, interested, changed her meta-emotion, changed the whole experience from negative to positive.
Just by shifting her perspective on it. Incredible.
Compare that to Ms. B, who felt broken because her experiences didn't match her expectations. Her distress wasn't just the experience, but her feelings about the experience. The shame, the inadequacy. Negative meta-emotions were fueling her suffering.
So the strategy is to notice how you feel about your feelings around sex and consciously work to reframe them, ease the judgment, foster acceptance.
Which reinforces that final, powerful quote, "Your orgasms belong to you, all the science. Can't make you more delighted with them or more afraid of them. Only you can do that."
It really brings home that personal autonomy over your own pleasure and your response to it.
It underlines that this whole journey is internal, shaped by your mindset, your willingness to embrace you, not some external standard.
Okay, so wrapping up our deep dive into Come As You Are, let's quickly recap the big takeaways. First, your sexuality is unique. No one size fits all.
Second, understanding your brain's accelerator, SES, and brakes, SIS, your unique sexual temperament is key.
Third, context is everything. External and internal factors shape your experience, and you can influence your context.
Fourth, Challenge those outdated, harmful cultural messages about bodies and sex, the moral, medical, and media ones. Uproot those weeds.
Fifth, pleasure is the goal, not just orgasm. Focusing on the whole experience is liberating.
And ultimately, this is all about empowering you to embrace your come-as-you-are sexuality, self-knowledge, self-compassion, freedom from unrealistic expectations.
So here's a final thought for you to take away, something to chew on. Given how much our internal wiring and our external context shape things, what's one small deliberate change you could make? Maybe today, maybe this week.
Could it be something to complete a stress cycle? A tiny act of body kindness, fostering a little more curiosity in your sexual garden?
Think about how this knowledge, these small shifts, could ripple outwards, enhancing intimacy, sure, but also deepening your overall sense of self-worth and well-being.
And remember that beautiful closing thought from Dr. Nagoski. The sexuality you have right now is it. And it's beautiful, even especially if it's not what you were taught it should be.
We really hope this deep dive supports you on your own journey of discovery and acceptance.